I should have known something was dangerously wrong long before I did. How do you miss something so critical? There were signs. Signs that were slow as sap, that amber lava that swallows up a disease-kissed evergreen. Slow as a rattlesnake as it bleeds toward you, painting the grass with belly scales. But sometimes you only see the signs once you're on the highest branch of realization. One minute, everything was normal. Big Jim and I were playing in the yard. We lived together, you see. It's a platonic relationship with a zesty sprinkle of symbiosis. I get the perks of living with an employed electrician in a decent neighborhood of Seattle, and he gets his own private live-in funny man. Winner, winner, chicken dinner, which so happens to be a favorite of mine. So, Big Jim and I were in the yard. He had a Pabst Blue Ribbon beer in hand, classic Big Jim, and was stooping intermittently to yank out a weed the size of a labradoodle. Things grow heartily in our state of Washington. Emerald moss, Honeycrisp apples, sweet cherries, big dreams, caffeine addiction, and acute passive aggression. We also legalized pot, to which Big Jim likes to poignantly screech, "Fuck yeah!" Where was I? Right. A summer evening glaze of gold varnish coated our yard with the fat frog fountain and that shitty little smug-faced gnome that I've been trying to sabotage since I moved in. And then Big Jim's eyeball fell out. Like, fell the fuck out of his head. It rolled onto the grass, and to be honest, Big Jim and I were both taken aback. Dennis, on the other hand, didn't skip a beat, hurling himself toward the rogue eyeball. Dennis is a bloodhound and has the IQ of a dead opossum. Honestly, I've met turkeys with more brain cells. I'd suggested to Big Jim that we oust Dennis because of his weapons-grade incompetence, but Big Jim never listened, intent on keeping a housemate that has zero impulse control and spends 94% of his time licking his balls. Dennis's fangs were within a foot of the eyeball as I snatched it, balancing it on the fence for safekeeping. Big Jim and I shared a look, or sort of 3/4 of a look, because now obviously he only had a single eyeball. Whilst making a mental note to add this to my petition to get Dennis evicted from our domicile, surely once you've tried to eat your roommate's eyeball, you gots to go. I asked Big Jim if he was all right. He didn't answer. "What the fuck?" said Big Jim, as he raised a beefy hand to his head, and that was the last thing I heard him say. Big Jim retired indoors and didn't finish his Pabst Blue Ribbon beer. Again, signs. He spent the next few days in the basement of our house where the PBR fridge is, and also the freezer with shitloads of meat in it. Then, he didn't eat. Not one of the delicious ducks or deer he lovingly shot in the face. Things seemed even more severe when he missed the monster truck show he'd been crowing about for weeks. I tried to reason with him. Tried to get him to eat part of a banana. I took care of the moldy bits because he's picky about those. Some of the Doritos I'd helped myself to, and even some of idiot Dennis's kibble. Nothing. Then the pacing started. Big Jim started to traverse the periphery of the basement, shaking his head to a melancholy tune like the sloth bear at the Woodland Park Zoo. Initially, I assumed Big Jim was trying to wear a circle into the basement for conduit installation, which he is very proficient in. But his one eye was now staring into oblivion, and he had stopped talking to me, and his drooling became worse than Dennis's, which is really saying something. I'd like to note that during this time, a time of great emotional duress and general uncertainty, Dennis did absolutely nothing except whiz all over the lazy boy and yarf on the carpet. I did my best to clean it up, but really, he's not my responsibility. The earlier signs were more subtle, only seen with the hindsight spectacles that Big Jim yearns for after every Tinder date. Before the eyeball evacuation, Big Jim started to forget things. He forgot a few appointments, then his wallet, and even his house keys, which he blamed me for because he thinks I'm a giant klepto. Hey, I'm just a fella who likes to build on his hidden collections. Who doesn't enjoy the finer things? He told me that some of his words were stuck, that they had fused to his tongue. When I offered to orally investigate, I was largely ignored. He became lethargic, a subtlety that perhaps only I would have noticed, seeing as Big Jim has the physical motivation of a taxidermic sloth. But I know him well, and I saw the difference. He stopped walking Dennis, which had disastrous consequences for the couch cushions, may they rest in peace. The runaway eyeball signified a turning point in our lives. I cached the eyeball in the cookie jar in case he could use it later. But Big Jim was never the same again. None of us were. I hesitate to go on for fear that you will judge me and not want to hear the rest of my story. However, in the interest of full disclosure, I feel a duty to tell you the truth about everything. You deserve it. My name is Shit Turd, and I am an American crow. Are you still with me? Crows aren't well liked, you see. We're judged because we are black, because our feathers don't possess the speckled stateliness of a red-tailed hawk's or the bewitching cobalt of a blue jay's, those stupid fuckers. Yeah, we're not as dainty and whimsical as hummingbirds, not as wise as owls, a total misnomer, by the way, and not as adorable as the ham-beast-bellied egg-timer commonly known as a penguin. Crows are harbingers of death and omens, good and bad, according to Big Jim, according to Google. Midnight-winged tricksters associated with mystery, the occult, the unknown. The netherworld, wherever that is. Portland? We make people think of the deceased in super angsty poetry. Admittedly, we don't help the cause when we happily dine on fish guts in a landfill, but hey-ho. So, the truth. My name is Shit Turd, ST for short, and I'm a domesticated crow, raised by Big Jim, who taught me the ways of your kind, whom he called mofos. He gave me my floral vocabulary and my indubitably unique name. He taught me to say some mofo words. Because of the aforementioned Tinder misadventures, Big Jim and I spent quality, or rather quantity time together, and I have an array of tricks under my plume. I know about mofo things like windows and secrets and blow-up dolls. And I am the rare bird who loves your kind, the ones who walk on two legs and built the things you dreamt of, including the Cheeto. I owe my life to you. As an honorary mofo, I'm here to be utterly honest and tell you what happened to your kind. The thing none of us saw coming.